What's going on, pickleballers? Today's guest is Jack Munro, aka Junior Mint. He was the youngest 5-0 in the nation at one time, and he's officially a professional pickleball player for the MLP. Just signed a 3-year deal starting in 2024. Wild roller coaster recently, Jack. It's good to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
So Matt Calvert's got a question. Let's just go right from the top. You're officially a pickleball pro. Are you still in school?
Yeah, I am still in school. I have a super full schedule because I'm committed to basically every pickleball or basically every tournament that is on the schedule. But I am going to UT. I'm hoping to, I'm in the middle of starting a club at UT, a pickleball club. We're going to regionals, I think next weekend actually in Houston. And yeah, so I will be in school. But it'll be more online as time goes on, which will be really helpful for obviously the pickle career.
Cool. And Matt asked a follow-up question to that. How are you going to balance professional pickleball and school?
It's a good question, but I think being online is one of the biggest things. I mean, you've seen Ben do it, you've seen Foster do it, you've seen a lot of these kids be able to do it because of the online school. They're also able to take less credits and then say, screw it, I'll do it in 5 years or something like that. But I think being online is the perfect middle ground as well, because, then you could obviously travel, whatever, once you're done playing at like 4 p.m, then you go home, shower, do homework for like 3-4 hours or something like that. So I think that's the best middle ground.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like you went from like being very busy to even busier, which just seems hard to believe, but congratulations. I mean, we're definitely looking for you to be on tour. Can't wait.
Yeah, thank you.
So Matt and I were talking, we don't know what the last 2 weeks has been like, but once we saw Colin Schick sign for the PPA, we're like, all right, if Colin's signing, like our boy Jack has got to be signing pretty soon. So what was the 2 weeks like, or the last 2 to 3 weeks, and how did a deal finally get done?
It was obviously pretty stressful because, I mean, like you see like a bunch of these people that like I've beat are getting signed, and it's like I mean, it's more of a game of like almost who you know, and it's obviously some of it's results, a lot of it is results. But yeah, so it was super stressful, like losing sleep over it, like come on, what's gonna happen? But yeah, we were in talks for a bit, and certainly I'm glad everything was able to get sorted, because there's actually a lot of young talent that I'm glad got picked up. A couple names like Richard Livernice, I don't know if you know him. Roscoe, which I didn't think would get signed, but I think Roscoe, like in my opinion, Roscoe Bellamy is going to be the next James Ignatowicz in the next year, and so I think that's like another young talent. So I'm glad that they're taking chances on these names, even obviously being me.
So with some of these players that are now MLP signed but haven't been drafted in the past, like does it kind of automatically mean getting drafted, or what exactly does signing an MLP contract mean?
That's a good question, and it's right now it's pretty broad, but what I would say is I would think you're not guaranteed a spot, but it does obviously put you in a really good position to get drafted. And so I think odds are, now that a bunch of talent is split and left to the PPA, not a bunch of talent, but talent is left to the PPA, that enough spots will be open that these people that obviously got signed will likely be on the team.
And not giving away too many secrets, I don't want to infringe on anything you got going on, but do you know if the MLP is going to run PPA, APP traditional style formats in addition to the team format, or is that still to be decided?
My guess is they'll find some sort of collaboration with the APP, but that's obviously just rumors. Sure. I do expect them, with the 200 days that you're committed with the MLP, to do more than just 2 or 4 events, and actually do some sort of tour around the states, whether it's with the APP or separate from the APP. I do expect them to do that, and Zane actually had a great idea. He was like, a lot of these teams should host events, and say like the Bay Area Breakers, they should host an event in the Bay Area, and then all these teams just basically run a tournament in the area. Obviously MLP oversees it, but I think that would be a great idea.
Right on. So taking your pickleball career like way back, let's go maybe 10 years ago. Not sure when you started, but can you walk us through like how you got involved with pickleball and then kind of your trajectory until now?
Yeah, so it started, oh my gosh, it started in like, oh my, it started in 2014. Around then, I was playing baseball. I played baseball for like 7 years before then. And I was pitching, I was traveling, just the normal travel baseball, Team USA. And then I threw my arm out pitching one weekend, fractured my rotator cuff. It was really annoying. So I was in a sling, and then I went up to watch my dad at the local club, and he was playing pickleball, and I had no clue what these paddles and this clop was. So after, he was nice enough to introduce me to the people, and then he put a paddle in my left hand, and then we just started dinking for like 30 minutes after he finished playing. And I was honestly hooked. Like, as soon as, it was just so much fun. It was obviously super easy to get into, which is still one of the benefits of pickleball to this day, is because, like, people who are unathletic can still play. And so being that young, it was cool getting integrated in games and slowly making my way up. But yeah, it was actually my dad who introduced me while I was injured. And so as soon as I got the sling off, I realized, like, no, I'll just stick to pickleball for a bit rather than going back to baseball.
So is that the origin story of why you play mostly left-handed?
Yeah. The sling hitting.
No way.
I hit for like, I don't know, 3-4 months with my left hand. And as soon as I took the sling off, it felt more natural to hit with my left hand. And so I still couldn't hit a serve. So I hit my serve right-handed, and then my overheads at that time right-handed, but everything else was lefty. So I was actually switching back and forth, and it honestly provided a pretty cool bridge with my game in order to switch hands and then cover both sides of my body with obviously two hands. So it's honestly a big benefit. And I think, if you're like a 4-5 or higher, I honestly think that it would be a pretty big benefit to your game if you just, started learning how to dink left-handed or something like that, just for reach. I mean, you see Riley do it. Riley Newman's honestly really good at it. You see Deckel do it. So it definitely does provide you that extra reach that honestly could be lucrative at points.
Wow, unreal. So were you doing anything lefty prior to that? Like right lefty, kick lefty, anything?
No, nothing. But yeah, what's weird is after I started playing lefty for obviously a couple years, then like my footwork is all lefty oriented for the most part.
Sure.
So like if I go play soccer or something, my left foot feels like more balanced, more stable, more strong. And so it honestly reflects in other parts. If I go to the gym or something like that, my left arm is more flexible. My left arm, like my left grip strength has more.
Sure.
So yeah, it's just, it honestly, I didn't think it would do more outside of pickleball, but it turns out it actually did.
Wow. Crazy. Didn't know that was the inception story, but makes a lot of sense. And I mean, yeah, you could play extremely well with both hands. So wow, fascinating to hear. So your dad got you involved in pickleball. How long before you got better than him?
That's a good question. Probably like 2.5 years, I would say, because he used to kill me. And he used to we used to sit cross court, and he used to be like, listen, you're going to hit 50 dinks in a row, or like all this. And he used to kill me. Like, it used to be like 11-3. And he used to be obviously at the top court, at the courts that we played at the park. And I used to be at the bottom or the third court from the top. And then eventually I just slowly made my way up. And I'd say probably a little north of 2 years would probably be. So right at the tail end of it, I was obviously, I think, a bit better. Yeah.
And so then so you were a bit better. And then when I've seen you on the court playing with the guys, it just seemed like you were kind of toying with them, having fun. Like, did you just get way better, way faster than them or is that just like your spirit in general of just having fun on the court? Or was it kind of a combination?
Certainly a combination, but I genuinely like having fun on the court and
Sure.
toying with people and doing that, not just dink 40 times. But with that, I would say, back during that time, I probably was like the top, or one of the best, because there were obviously there was a bunch of good players in the area, to be honest, for pickleball being that young.
Yeah, especially then, yeah.
But yeah, and also like nothing's better than screwing with your dad, especially after like 2-3 years of him bullying you on the court, and especially when you have a dad that chirps, and then you're finally like your hands get better, or you start like hitting actually like good aggressive shots, and you're beating him up. Then it becomes more than a game. It's obviously
sure.
Yeah,
that's awesome. You took 4-year break, right, where you played high school basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you ever look back and be like, and think like, dang, like if I would have kept playing, or are you just like so past that, like it's in the past, I'm not even gonna think about it?
No, 100%. It still haunts me, especially when people still bring it up. Like all the old names, yeah, all the old pros and stuff like that. Like, obviously, some nights you still lose sleep on it. It's like, what if? But I mean, it's just like, any college player that got injured, it's like, there's still nightmares of like, what if I went pro or something like that. So it's certainly not unique, but especially seeing money come into pickleball now, it's like, shoot, if I had 4 years, just like a match, 4 years, 2 hands, like, come on, I'd be earning from both sides of the court,
right?
Stuff like that. Like, it is cool to dream, but I mean, back to reality. I mean, like back then, you look at when Ben was playing. When Ben started out, Frazier was playing back in the day, and it's like, right, seeing them obviously at the top. It's a no-brainer that I'd be up there with them.
Once I beat that guy, or once I'm consistently better than that person, like I've arrived. Like, do you ever put goals to beating people, or is it just you kind of focusing on your own game?
It's certainly more focused on my own game. Like, I try to get better at specific shots and stuff like that in terms of consistency. But I think it's good to have like a short and long-term goal of who you like desire to beat, or if that makes sense. So say like back in the day with Dad, or something like that. Like, I obviously wished, and like that was one of my reasons. Like, whatever, I'm gonna be good enough to eventually beat my dad consistently. And so I do think having goals like that is helpful, whether it's short-term and long-term, because I think that you can have both. Like, eventually I want to be as good as Riley Newman, but in the short term I'll try to be as good as somebody a bit less. So
sure,
yeah.
Fair enough. And do you have any advice for aspiring pros?
You certainly have to network. I think networking is pretty big, especially seeing the PPA, MLP, APP, all this stuff. It's certainly, even outside of pickleball, it's almost not what you know, so So I think networking is important. Don't be the guy that like sits in the corner of the pro tent and just like scrolls on his phone. It's good to build obviously relationships, go out to dinner with people after, and obviously be nice to everybody. Watch film. Film is important. Like, record your games. Ask people. It's tough at points, because if you're the worst one and you're not getting invited to these games anymore because you honestly like they don't want you there,
sure,
like go ahead, ask them and be like, hey, like what do I need to work on in my game? Or if you're in these games and you just want to get better, ask the people that you're playing with, because odds are they're not going to gatekeep unless you're like Ben and Riley or something like that. They're not going to gatekeep. They're going to tell you like this is really good. I have no clue where you're going to hit it when the ball's right here, or when it's here, I know you're going to hit it here, or you have a really good backhand counter or something like that. So it's certainly worth reflecting on your game yourself, as well as asking the people around you.
Makes sense. And going back to your goals and how you say like you focus on certain shots or just overall game, what are some things that you feel like you need to do better, or that you're currently working on to kind of get to the next level?
One of them is honestly pretty fun to learn. It's the scorpion. I honestly, nothing's better than scorpioning somebody and like anticipating it.
Nothing.
But yeah, in terms of more niche shots, instead of like slicing a volley cross court in a dink rally, I need to one hand kind of roll a dink back, like roll a volley cross court, consistently, and I don't have that because, you know, if I immediately show that I'm going to hit a slice cross court, the guy in front of you knows, so he's going to slide. Compared to if I hit a roll, they're going to be on their heels because, you know, if I roll, then they could think that I'm going to speed the ball up.
More options, right?
Yeah, so I'm working on that. Forehand off the bounce speed up, and I've been watching film of the best people that do it. So, for example, like Matt Wright has a really good off the bounce forehand speed up. Dylan Frazier.
I like Dylan.
Yeah, I really like Dylan a bit more than Matt Wright in terms of their game, just because I genuinely I like how Dylan sets up Jacob. He's not afraid to speed the ball up, and obviously he's got world-class hands. But yeah, so I watch them, and those are the two shots that I'm working on. Yeah, right now.
I'm a huge Scorpion fan. I told Matt that I might abandon it because I just can't, like, once every 5 times I go down, I actually like hit the ball and it goes in. And the other 4 times it goes by me on like my wrong shoulder. Like, I'm just maybe not at that level yet, but it just feels so good when you hit one like and it goes in. But how do you read that? Because that's something maybe I'm not doing well. Maybe it's just I'm not at that level yet. But like when I see Deckel do it or Colin do it, Zane, like they're always reading it right. It's like, is there any signs other than just like them winding up or like how do you read it?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, like, with Colin and Deckel, like, they honestly look at the person in front of them, and then as soon as they see him lean in and basically drop their wrist like this, like they're going to speed the ball up, then they immediately get down. But it's way tougher to Scorpion, and I wouldn't recommend Scorpion when the ball's, like, off the ground, so it bounces. But honestly, it's better to just take a step back. And then kind of, you know, you're not in the midcourt, but you're a few steps off the kitchen line to give you some more time. Because when it's off the bounce, especially if they have a good forehand speed up or a good backhand speed up, they can hit that ball anywhere.
Right.
And with the Scorpion, you're only covering this really. So if they go line, it's really tough. Or if they go too far, then it is tough. So you're limited with the Scorpion when it's off the bounce. So I'd probably just take a step back.
Fair enough. And with the Scorpion, at least it's been my experience that I'm going to hit an out ball. Is there any way to like prevent that or like when I'm here, it's like I'm hitting any ball that comes in my sight. Like, is there a way to like take down the Scorpion and not hit it, or like you're just fully committing?
Nah, I'm dealing with that too. Cause there are some times where people do it and they literally like, they're going for a bag, but since I'm like a step down, they're just hitting it as hard as they can above my head. And I'm committed. So honestly,
okay.
I'm in the same boat as you.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Quick questions for you to kind of wrap this thing up. Dream MLP men's doubles partner. Gotta be an MLP player.
In terms of shoot, I have some players that I really like. I don't know how I'd mesh with them. But players that I like watching that I'd love to play. And I know you said MLP, but I honestly love Deckel's game. But I honestly love Andre Mick's game too.
Nice.
I think that style of game would be really good for viewership. And you know, if we get 4 guys that are Andre Mick on the court, it would be a really, really fun game. So yeah, I like that faster pace type of tempo, not where, like, obviously I you know, if I had to pick, I'd say Ben, just because I know I'm winning.
Sure.
But yeah, I'd like to give like Andre Mick or something like that a try, where, you know, like we can shake and bake when they hit a drive because I'm lefty, or they're kind of speeding up a bit riskier balls. I'm not saying like 40-60 type balls, but I'm saying like if it's out of the air and it's, you know, a little under hip level, that they're still speeding it up, because I genuinely like that style of game. So people like that, I'd love to play.
And as a lefty, are you more, I guess, conscious or looking for people that like jive better with a lefty, or is it kind of the same thing whether you're playing 2 righties like in and meshing together, or are you looking for something different than maybe a righty and a righty wouldn't necessarily look for?
It's honestly it's a completely different game, and the stuff that you look for, and that's why having chemistry is way better than talent in terms of your partner. And so, because obviously you have two forehands in the middle, so if I'm dinking cross court, and so the guy, I mean, it's tough without, like writing it down, but I should be covering middle if the ball's across from me, and then my partner should cover middle if the ball's in front of me. So it's cool having two forehands in the middle, and so you do have to learn your rules a bit differently, especially when you have two forehands in the middle off the ground, or like, if they hit a dink in the middle.
Right.
Typically, I just let the left guy do it because, the lefty or the righty that's on the left is used to covering 60% of the court. So I'm just like, dog, do your thing. I'll just stay out of your way. But yeah, so there are completely different rules being a lefty-righty.
Right on. Next one, dream mixed doubles. Partner, I don't have to throw in the MLP. Let's just go in general. Like, who you choosing?
Well, you can't beat Annalie. Like, genuinely, I know it's tough, but if you break down her game, the fact that she poaches off other people, like she poaches off Ben drives at the guy. Like,
right.
Like who does that? And she poaches with her tui. I mean, poaches with her forehand. She's genuinely super aggressive. She'll speed up at the guy, like down his line. She'll always keep him watching. And if you look at her footwork, I mean, obviously she's had a bunch of tournaments with Ben, so they do have really good chemistry. But she knows when to take a step off the line to hit a cross-court dink, so then Ben can also come over and look to attack when he slides. And she also knows when to stay at the line and then volley to add pressure with the cross-court dink. And she does, she just knows, she knows her role obviously to a T. So, I mean, I would.
If you take Ben away from Annalie, like have Riley and Annalie, and just let's say we give Ben like CP, how many people do you think how many partners could Annalie win with over Ben? Because Riley and Annalie, at least, was it earlier this year at the Masters? Or maybe at the end of last year, Riley and Annalie like just destroyed Ben and Catherine. But is that the only person that Annalie could beat Ben with? Or you throw J-Dub in there and he has a chance too?
Yeah. I think there's at least four guys that you put Annalie with that could beat Ben and CP.
Unreal, man. Yeah, that's just next level. Mm-hmm. So you're the king of bags. I mean, you've talked about it a little bit earlier. I see it on your gram all the time. I saw you playing ping pong, going for a bag. What's with the obsession? Where did it start?
I honestly had to learn how to. Well, obviously it went back like 8 years ago, because bags were still a thing. And it was still called a bag.
Yeah.
And so it was honestly just fun. Like, people are watching, you bag somebody. It's almost like you dunk over someone in basketball and then walk over. Then you walk over, like it's almost disrespectful. But yeah, it is fun and like rec, as long as obviously it's not like at their head.
Sure.
But
you
I
have
honestly,
this shot where you are like solely going for a bag. It seems like you're hitting it probably as hard as you can, like just trying to bag someone. I mean, does that ever come up in tournament play, or is that solely a rec thing?
Yeah, no, and it's a big thing in tournaments. And if you know my game, you'll know that if I know that the guy, that's a lot of notes, I'm sorry. But
are you sure you want to divulge this? I mean.
Basically, there's some people who slide, there's some people who stand still, and there's some people who jump when they're countering. And so based on that archetype, you can understand which people are basically, if you load up, you'll understand where they're going to go, so then you can just aim for that area. And it's honestly, it's sweat equity at the beginning of games, because if you go for it, even if you miss, then they're less likely to stay at the kitchen line when you wind up with that tui next time, even if it's going to be a roll. So it pays off, because then they're at least more timid when you wind up with that.
Interesting. So what are you looking for? Are you specifically looking for like a slider, Or because somebody that stays still, like J-Dub, I mean, he's got his like paddle right here almost at all time. Well, it's down at his right hip, but then when he sees a windup, he brings it up a little. Like that's somebody you would want to avoid that strategy with, right? Just because he's going to counter it immediately. Or who do you look for specifically?
Yeah, so height's a big one, to be honest. Like you honestly don't want to do it with guys that are like too tall, because even if you're hitting it, you're speeding up below the net, so it's coming up.
Sure.
And so if they're super tall and then their paddle's just naturally at chest level, then you're just hitting it straight to their paddle.
Right.
Bigger people are obviously easier, just because, I mean, literally body mass. But yeah, there's a lot of different things to take into account, and I genuinely think about it before games. But with J-Dub, I honestly wouldn't even think about it, because obviously he's got some world class hand.
All right. Who's your dream person to bag? Anyone. It could be your dad again, or anyone. I mean, who's the dream? What's the dream?
That's a good question. Probably Jared Paul at the kitchen. That's a big one. My dad. I would love to bag my dad again. Sam Query. Just a bunch of people. There's a lot, but obviously I don't want to say any pros, because that will obviously cost money.
Right on. So you have like a bag list of like, you have like check marks, like, all right, haven't got this person yet, need to get that person.
I wish.
All right, last one for you. Do you have a recent pickleball tip that you learned that's like turned into a favorite of yours, that's kind of been a recent thing?
That's a good question. It's pretty generic, but go for your serve.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You see a lot of these pros are going for their serve at least like 80% now, and it pays off, because whatever, you get a ball that bounces 2 feet in front of the kitchen. Okay, cool. You're automatically at the net.
Sure.
So definitely go for your serve, whether it's spin or power. It's up to you. You can honestly break down the serve, and we could have a podcast on just the serve.
Right.
But yeah, there's certain serves that can say, like, you hit a top spin or a slice serve, and you can figure out what your opponent likes. So if they don't like a slice serve, or they don't have the best footwork, or all of that stuff, they don't like it when they're hitting like high slices, then go ahead and add top spin or stuff like that. But I do think going for your serve, adding depth, whether it's flat or top spin, or if you have a good slice serve, you certainly go for it. I don't care if you miss 2 a game, just keep going for it.
So it's still like that Zane Navratil, like 90%, like that's still kind of the mark?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Right on. All right, any last words? Where can people find you if they want to stay updated?
At the Munro on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok as well. At the Munro, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I mean, just try to make unique content that isn't cliche. So yeah, that's my goal.
Cool, right on. Jack Munro, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I appreciate it, bro.